You've seen the headlines, you've heard the relentless sales pitches, and honestly, if you're like most business professionals operating in 2026, you're probably looking around your office right now wondering why there is such a massive glaring gap between the utopian hype of artificial intelligence and the reality of businesses actually making money from it.
Right. It's a huge disconnect.
It really is. So welcome to today's deep dive. Our mission today is to cut through all that noise and unpack the true state of AI in business right now. And we've got a phenomenal stack of fresh data to help us do exactly that.
Yeah, the data we have today is incredibly revealing.
Absolutely. We are looking at three massive reports that just dropped. There's HubSpot's 2026 State of Marketing, McKinsey's State of AI in 2025, which, by the way, heavily focuses on customer experience going into this year, and Deloitte's January 2026 State of AI in the Enterprise Report.
Welcome to SBAI, Service Business AI, where modern service businesses scale smarter with artificial intelligence.
So, okay, let's unpack this. Where are we actually at with AI right now, and why does it feel like everyone is simultaneously exhausted and, I don't know, completely overwhelmed by it?
I think the best way to set the stage here is to look at the sheer scale of adoption across the board, because we are officially way past the early adopter phase. I mean, if we look at the McKinsey data, 88% of organizations are now using AI regularly in at least one business function.
88%.
Exactly. And 72% are actively using generative AI. That is a staggering, almost unprecedented leap in enterprise technology adoption.
It's everywhere.
Right. For all intents and purposes, having some form of AI in your business is near universal now.
Mm-hmm.
But the critical distinction we really need to make today is that our goal isn't to talk about AI as a shiny new toy. We're looking at this data to help you understand how to cross what the industry is calling the scaling gap.
Scaling gap.
Yeah. How do you get from a cool, isolated pilot program that your IT team loves to generating actual, measurable enterprise value? Because right now, that gap is where the vast majority of companies are getting completely stuck.
That scaling gap is fascinating to me. And honestly, it's a little alarming when you actually dig into the numbers from Deloitte. They found that while 25% of leaders confidently say AI is transforming their company right now.
Which sounds great on paper.
Right, it sounds great. But a massive 74% are still just hoping it will grow their revenue at some point in the future. They are essentially operating on pure optimism. And it's leading to what the industry is now calling pilot fatigue.
Yeah, that hope is exactly what's causing the bottleneck across all these industries. Companies are just chasing the next shiny object. They spin up a low-cost, low-risk pilot program, maybe a new tool to help the sales team write outreach emails, but they don't have any coherent roadmap for scaling those scattered successes across the entire business.
They're just throwing things at the wall.
Exactly. And the McKinsey critique paints a very sobering picture of what happens when hope replaces strategy. According to their data, only 39% of organizations report any EBIT impact directly attributable to AI.
And just to clarify for everyone listening, when we say EBIT, we are talking about earnings before interest and taxes. So basically actual bottom line operating profit. You're saying a majority of these companies have absolutely nothing to show on their balance sheets for all this effort and money.
That is the harsh reality. More than 60% of companies are seeing zero financial return on their AI investments right now. But the sharpest warning in all of these reports actually comes from Jing Ho, an analyst whose work was featured alongside the McKinsey Deep Dive.
Oh yeah, this part blew my mind.
Right. Who looked at the correlation between how much a company spends on AI and how successful they are. And the conclusion is brutal. Simply throwing money at the problem is not the answer. In fact, Jing Ho's analysis shows that spending more on AI makes your company twice as likely to fail.
Wait, let's pause on that. Spending more makes you twice as likely to fail. That feels totally counterintuitive. I mean, you would naturally think the massive enterprises dumping millions of dollars into the absolute best enterprise-grade AI tools would be the ones running away with the market.
It seems counterintuitive until you look at the mechanics of implementation. What we're seeing is a classic case of survivorship bias in the market. People look at the small fraction of high-performing companies that are investing heavily, and they assume the massive investment itself is what caused the success.
Confusing correlation with causation.
Precisely. Jing Ho's analysis suggests that heavy investment without a solid operational foundation just amplifies your existing mistakes. If you have a broken, inefficient process in your customer service department and you try to scale that broken process with incredibly expensive, lightning-fast AI,
You don't fix the process.
exactly, you don't fix it, you just fail faster and harder.
That makes perfect sense. It's like putting a rocket engine on a car with flat tires. You're just going to crash at a much higher speed. So for you, the listener, trying to navigate your own business strategy, the big takeaway here is that simply having a bot is no longer a competitive differentiator. Period. Because your competitors all have bots too.
Right, it's table stakes now.
It is. Your customers do not care about your tech stack. They don't care that you just license the latest, most expensive language model. They care about fast, accurate outcomes. If your new AI system doesn't reduce their effort or fix their issue on the very first try, it is nothing more than a new, highly sophisticated source of frustration.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the data reveals exactly what the actual winners in this space are doing differently.
Yeah.
McKinsey identified a very small cohort of what they call AI high performers, and it's only about 6% of companies.
Wow, just 6%.
Yeah, a tiny fraction. And what sets this 6% apart isn't that they are buying better or more expensive software, it's that they are 2.8 times more likely to fundamentally redesign their workflows from the ground up. They aren't just layering a new AI tool on top of an old legacy process.
Right. They aren't just saying, how can we use AI to help our human reps type out this refund email 10% faster? They are stepping back and asking, why are we sending emails about refunds at all? They are using AI to instantly process the refund in the back end the moment a package carrier marks it as lost, completely eliminating the customer service ticket before it even exists. They are redesigning the work itself, not just trying to assist the worker.
And that workflow redesign is fundamentally changing how we view human capital. For the last few years, the dominant narrative has been this looming fear that AI is coming for your job. But the data across these reports paints a very different reality. The HubSpot report shows that 73.4% of marketers see AI working in conjunction with them.
Working with them, not replacing them.
Right, acting as an assistant that handles the brute force work. Deloitte's data echoes this perfectly, noting that 53% of companies are actively redesigning tasks specifically to pair human judgment with AI speed.
I love that angle because it really highlights the human advantage. We're moving away from this idea of human versus machine and moving toward human plus machine. And what's fascinating is how that relationship is becoming formalized. We used to talk about human-in-the-loop systems as a temporary safety net, right? Like training wheels.
Yeah.
You only kept the human reviewer around until the AI got smart enough to fly solo.
That view is entirely outdated now. Human in the loop is no longer a set of training wheels. It has become a permanent core operating model. McKinsey notes that 65% of those elite, high-performing companies use clearly defined human-in-the-loop validation processes for their critical operations.
That's a huge shift.
It is. Let's say an AI system is flagging fraudulent transactions at a bank. Customers are demanding absolute accountability. If an AI freezes their account, they want to know a human being with empathy and judgment is overseeing that final decision. That human oversight isn't a bug in the system. It is the exact mechanism that builds operational trust with the public.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though, because as much as we talk about human oversight, the adversarial nature of what the AI is doing beneath that human supervisor is changing dramatically. We are rapidly entering the era of agentic AI.
Yes, the shift from conversational to agentic.
Exactly. These are not just the conversational chatbots we got used to a few years ago that could summarize a PDF or write a polite follow-up email. These are autonomous agents that actually execute complex work across multiple systems. Deloitte shared some incredible examples of this in the wild. You have financial firms right now using AI agents to join video conferences, quietly capture all the meeting actions, draft the follow-up communications, and then literally track the project management software to ensure the human participants actually follow through on their assigned tasks.
The capabilities are expanding rapidly. Another great example Deloitte highlighted was air carriers using AI agents for real-time crisis management.
Or the tarmac example, right?
Yeah. If a massive storm grounds a dozen flights, instead of 1,000 angry passengers calling into a helpless support center, AI agents can independently analyze the network, rebook the flights on partner airlines, reroute the physical baggage, and text the new boarding passes to the passengers. It completely frees up the human agents to handle the complex, emotional escalations, like a family that got separated or a passenger missing a critical medical appointment.
That sounds like absolute magic for a frustrated traveler. I mean, imagine being stuck on a tarmac knowing you're missing your connection. And instead of waiting on hold for an hour listening to awful elevator music, an AI agent has already recognized the delay, negotiated with the partner airline system, and fixed the problem before you even unbuckle your seatbelt. That is the promise of agentic AI.
It is, but we need to heavily temper that excitement with a very real operational warning from the McKinsey report. The integration hurdle to make that tarmac scenario a reality is incredibly high.
I can only imagine the back-end mess.
It's massive. If you deploy an AI agent to handle customer service, but it cannot see real-time order status, or verify policy eligibility, or cleanly update your CRM, your customer relationship management software, basically the digital brain holding all your customer data, then you haven't actually solved anything. You have just created a very fast, very polite conversation that results in a frustrated customer and extra cleanup work for your human agents.
And the data shows organizations are vastly underprepared for that integration challenge. Deloitte found that a mere 21% of companies currently have a mature governance model for these autonomous agents, which in plain English means 4 out of 5 companies are essentially handing the keys to an autonomous AI vehicle without having any rules in place for when it inevitably speeds, takes a wrong turn, or crashes into a legacy software system.
That lack of governance becomes even more perilous when we talk about AI stepping off of our computer screens and into the real world. Deloitte dedicated a whole section of the report to physical AI.
The physical infrastructure side of things.
Yes. We are talking about robotics, automated warehouse logistics, and IoT, the Internet of Things, which refers to all those embedded sensors that connect physical factory machines to the Internet. The reality check here is purely financial, and it's staggering.
Right, because with physical AI, the software is arguably the cheapest and easiest part of the equation, isn't it?
Precisely. The true barrier to entry is the total cost of ownership. We aren't just talking about a monthly software subscription. We are talking about tens of millions of dollars needed for massive facility retrofits. You have to integrate these new robotic systems with 30-year-old legacy physical infrastructure.
Which has to be a nightmare.
It is. You have to factor in the catastrophic cost of operational downtime while you tear up a working factory floor to install it. It requires a completely different scale of capital investment and strategic planning compared to just deploying a digital agent to your website.
We've been talking a lot about the massive logistical nightmares of integrating AI into physical warehouses and back-end operations. But even if your back-end operations are perfectly automated and humming along flawlessly, it doesn't matter at all if you can't reach your customers on the front end. And looking at HubSpot's new data, the way we actually acquire and interact with those customers is shifting just as dramatically as the warehouse floor. Marketing in 2026 is going through an absolute earthquake.
The shift in search behavior alone is staggering. According to HubSpot, half of all consumers are now actively using AI-powered search engines, and half of all traditional Google searches now feature an AI-generated overview right at the top of the page.
Which means the old SEO playbook is effectively dying. For years, the strategy was to stuff your blog posts with keywords, build backlinks, and hope you ranked high enough to get a user to click a blue link. Now, if I search for the best winter coat for a trip to Iceland, I don't want a list of 10 outdoor blogs to read through. I want the AI to just tell me the answer.
Exactly. Users want immediate resolution.
Right. So brands are having to shift from SEO to what's being called AEO, answer engine optimization. They are restructuring their content not to drive clicks to a landing page, but to provide immediate contextual answers directly to the AI that is answering the user's question in natural language. And it's moving fast. HubSpot notes that 70.2% of marketers are already actively adapting their strategy to this AEO reality.
That shift from driving traffic to providing context is fundamental. And alongside that evolution in search, the absolute #1 marketing trend identified for 2026 is AI-enabled hyper-personalization. The ROI on this is undeniable. The report states that 93.2% of marketers see personalized, segmented experiences leading directly to more leads and purchases.
Because generic blasts just don't work anymore.
They really don't. Consumers today demand authenticity at scale. If they are shopping for clothes online, they want the AI to dynamically show them models that look like their specific body type. They want marketing emails that reference their specific past behavior, not just a generic one-size-fits-all message.
But there is a gigantic opportunity gap hiding in those numbers. Because while everyone knows hyper-personalization works, HubSpot found that only 12.6% of brands are actually executing it successfully. The vast majority are still just using basic dynamic fields like slapping your first name in an email subject line and calling it personalized.
She was barely scratching the surface.
Right. And the reason why is the most frustrating part. 65% of marketers openly admit they simply lack the high-quality audience data needed to fuel these AI models. You cannot have hyper-personalized AI if your underlying customer data is a fragmented, outdated mess.
That data foundation is the invisible ceiling for almost every company we've discussed today. If your data isn't clean, unified, and instantly accessible to the AI, your expensive tools will never reach their potential. But while companies are spending 2026 trying to sort out their messy data lakes, they're at least figuring out where to point their creative energy in the meantime.
Oh, absolutely. If you want to know what the ultimate ROI winner is for 2026, HubSpot's data leaves zero room for debate. It is short-form video. It is absolutely crushing the competition. Nearly half of all marketers, 48.6%, say short-form video delivers the biggest return on investment, completely blowing past long-form video, user-generated content, and traditional text-based posts.
The engagement rates are just phenomenal.
Unbeatable. But the insight here isn't just that short video is popular on social media. We already knew that. The insight is that AI is fundamentally collapsing the cost of production. Tools like HubSpot's Content Remix are allowing a single marketer to take one standard blog post and automatically generate 3 video scripts, an audio snippet, and a week's worth of social posts in seconds. It's making the production of this high ROI content vastly faster and cheaper than ever before.
This raises an important question, though. As we push the boundaries of what AI can generate, deploy, and automate, whether that's churning out hundreds of marketing videos a week or letting autonomous customer service agents rebook flights, how are these companies managing the sheer risk of all this?
The liability has to be massive.
It is. Deloitte found that 73% of companies say they are most worried about data privacy and security, followed very closely by legal and regulatory compliance. The high-performing companies we talked about earlier aren't ignoring these risks. They are institutionalizing their response to them. Governance is no longer viewed as an annoying compliance roadblock created by the legal team.
It's shifting from a defensive strategy to an offensive one.
Exactly. For the winners, robust governance is the catalyst. It is the solid framework that allows a company to confidently and safely scale their AI from a small pilot program into a massive enterprise rollout.
Which brings us to a massive macro trend that might be flying under the radar for a lot of people listening, but is absolutely dominating executive boardrooms right now: sovereign AI. Deloitte's report shows that 83% of companies now view sovereign AI as strategically important to their future.
This is a huge shift in the global tech landscape.
It really is. If you haven't heard this term yet, it essentially means a shift away from relying on global, centralized AI giants. It's about building, training, and deploying AI locally under a specific country's laws on server infrastructure physically located within that country, using data that is governed by local privacy rules.
It's a fascinating evolution because we are watching geopolitics crash head-on into enterprise technology. Companies, particularly in certain highly regulated global regions, are incredibly concerned about relying on foreign-owned AI technology for their core operations. The Deloitte data points out that 32% of companies in the EMEA region, Europe, the Middle East, and Africa currently rely heavily on foreign vendors for their AI stack, and they are actively trying to reduce that dependence.
They want more control.
Exactly. They don't necessarily want the massive trillion-parameter global models. They are demanding smaller, highly distilled language models built locally to comply with their strict import, export, and citizen privacy regulations. So the question for a global business in 2026 is no longer just, what can this AI do? It is equally, where was this AI built? And whose laws govern the data it processes?
So what does this all mean? We have covered a staggering amount of ground today, from the failures of pilot fatigue and the integration nightmares of agentic AI to the massive shift toward answer engine optimization and the geopolitical chess game of sovereign AI.
If we synthesize all of the insights from HubSpot, McKinsey, and Deloitte, the main takeaway for you, the listener, is very clear. 2026 is the year the grace period officially ends. The market is no longer going to reward you just for experimenting with AI.
The shiny object phase is over.
It is entirely over. It is the year to move away from isolated, flashy pilots and focus entirely on foundational workflow redesign. The winners over the next 12 months are not going to be the ones buying the most expensive, heavily marketed tools. The winners will be the ones doing the unglamorous hard work of cleaning up their data, establishing robust governance frameworks, and meticulously redesigning their operations to combine human creativity, empathy, and judgment with machine intelligence and speed. It is entirely about operational trust. Because if your customers do not inherently trust the outcomes your AI produces, the technology itself is worthless.
Operational trust. I think that is the perfect phrase to sum up the mandate for business leaders right now. And it leaves me with one final, and slightly provocative thought I want to leave you with today. We've talked so much about AI agents eventually taking over all of our routine, mundane transactions and how human-in-the-loop validation is becoming the absolute gold standard for building trust.
Right.
Think about what that actually means for the future of customer experience. If agentic AI eventually handles 95% of all our daily business interactions flawlessly and instantly, from rebooking flights to processing refunds, will getting the chance to speak to a real, live human being with genuine empathy soon become the ultimate luxury product in the business world? Will we pay a premium just to hear a human voice? Something to mull over as you build your own AI roadmaps for the year ahead. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into the state of AI. We will catch you on the next one.